Thank you. We have poured and mingled our waters, and we have a new batch now this year. This water will be purified and saved and is available for use in rituals and ceremonies in the church. I'm not sure what those will be. Looking around, I don't expect to have too many new child dedications this year, but you never can tell. New beginnings are auspicious times, and there is lots of space for hope and optimism here at Beverly Unitarian. So much is right here. We have a strong and committed congregation, a congregation with people with experience at doing the work of church. Many of us are doers, and our lay leadership groups manage church affairs gently and with great competence. Most of you do not know other UU congregations and probably assume that this is typical. I assure you that it is not, and that by many measures you are a special and wonderful group. When ministerial interns work with a congregation as they lean into their new vocation, they also are required to use the church as a case study, and the life of each church is discussed at length and dissected in practicums at the seminary. Stories are told and compared, and much of the time is spent engaging the problems and dysfunctions experienced in the congregations where the interns were placed. Julia Jones, who interned here for the past 2 years, reported that this was a problem, and she often had little to contribute to the class because our church is too healthy and the people in Beverly get along and work well together. So shame you all for denying Julia a full field education. We should take great pride in how well we weathered the challenges of pandemic, quarantines, and social distance. Learning to do church remotely was a challenge, but it was a challenge well met. Quality worship continued throughout this time, whether it was live streamed on YouTube, held in the parking lot, or sometimes held over Zoom. None of these substitutes were perfect, but they all worked well enough to keep us connected and to deliver quality weekly worship experiences. When it seemed that some people were becoming isolated or lost during quarantine, you responded in a spirit of mutual support by creating small group pods to engage one another in more direct and personal manner. Now, we know that the public health problems have not disappeared, and we continue to guard against potential challenges. But we have all started to relax the most stringent barriers to gathering. It is such a pleasure to come together each week, to share this space with each other, to share and worship together. Sure, we still mask and we try to distance, but we are here as one. And now we even allow ourselves to sing hymns in masks, and I'm starting to hear rumors of resuming the Beverly Choir at some time in the near future. This is all wonderful. It feels like we're finally returning to normal, and I hope and pray that this trend continues. I know that I need this, and I assume that most of you feel the same way. But we have a lot of work ahead of us if we hope to fully restore the vitality and richness of full-blown church life. Many of our ongoing ventures tended to atrophy a bit during the pandemic, and we need to re-energize and restart important aspects of church life, such as religious education for children and adults, social action efforts, and the care and support of members and friends. We necessarily became somewhat complacent during the past 2 years, and I don't believe that most of us want or seek a complacent church life. We want Beverly to be a safe place where each of us can feel comfortable and bringing our full selves and sharing our lives. And feeling comfortable here is important and good. I will claim, though, that being too comfortable here is not so good. Instead, we need to become dynamic, challenge ourselves and each other, and create an environment of engagement and growth. One oft-quoted trope about ministry is that we are supposed to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. I think that should apply to the entire ministry of this congregation, not just to my own personal work. But let me step back and take a wider view for a moment, because I believe that the challenges we face as a congregation are more than needing to reinvent what we were before the pandemic. I believe we need to think seriously about reinventing ourselves in some ways as a church and as a community institution. In the not too distant future, I believe this might even be necessary for our continued survival. We need to face the very real trend in America that church is not a growth industry. For all of the bluster by the few that America is a Christian country, less than half of American adults now are members of a church, synagogue, or mosque. Gallup reported the number as 47% in 2020, which is down from over 70% as recently as 2000. Church attendance has decreased correspondingly as membership. A large share of Americans have moved into the unchurched category, and this is particularly true of younger persons. Membership in and attendance at church is evaporating before our eyes, and this is a very rapid change. That is not to say that all churches will be dead soon, but secularization is a clear trend in the United States, which until now had the reputation of being one of the more religions in the Western world. We once felt that this change might be a boon for Unitarian Universalism. If people were not finding value in their traditional churches or were being driven away from their traditional churches, we thought they might naturally move into our UU fold to enjoy our less dogmatic and open approach to religion. Once upon a time, this happened a lot, and we were frequently used as a way station for people questioning their church of origin. But this was in a time when many of these questioners felt that they should be part of a church community. It was a norm that was held in this country. We served many of these comer-outers and helped them transition from a rigid belief environment. And UU churches in some ways acted almost as a halfway house for many of them. We served them well enough that most of them kept right on moving out of our churches and into the unchurched world. Yet they remember our support fondly. The large surveys of national religious attachment consistently find somewhere around 1 million American adults who claim attachment to Unitarian Universalism. They define us as their religion. At the same time, the active UU membership is now about 188,000 persons. So the roughly 750,000 persons who practice their free and responsible search for truth and meaning outside of our congregations is sort of a quandary for us. Are we failing them and losing them and not holding on to them? I personally like to think of this more as a great accomplishment, in that we have touched and positively influenced a group 4 times larger than our membership. These people appreciate us. They don't just come to church, and they don't pay pledges. That's a problem. Although we UUs have many fellow travelers, the hard truth is that our numbers are shrinking a bit also. Not as fast as the Christian denominations, but the trend is downward. Unitarian Universalist membership declined about 10% since the year 2000. So we see that our brand of religion, our message, is not automatically bringing in those people who left the Christian churches. Many younger Americans have no experience or tradition of church participation or religious background. While Sunday used to be a protected time for religion, this is no longer the case. Organized activities, especially for youth, things like dance and soccer and whatever else, and most commercial operations, all of these things are active on Sunday and effectively compete with us for what was once church time. Now, I personally believe that freeing our citizenry from the teachings of the more dogmatic faiths is a good thing, and that what most people think of when the words religion and church are spoken is the church of their origin. Indeed, many people hold a strong aversion to religion and church because of the associations these words carry for them. And I can't disagree with that. But I believe also that what we do here is important. And I am comfortable treating Unitarian Universalism as a religion and calling our assemblies churches. But we need to understand that this branding might be counterproductive in the current marketplace of culture and association. How can we define what we do to the broader public? While I disagree with the dogma of most churches, I strongly believe in the value of shared community and the importance of creating places where people can comfortably work with life's big questions. This territory was once the purview of the church, but as our world secularizes, there is no other place or space where similar activities happen. The religious questions remain important, even without the stock religious answers. Most of us care about things like, why are we here? Where did we come from? What happens when we die? What is the purpose of life? How do I know what is right? How are we connected one to another? What are our responsibilities to other persons? And so on. I believe that our fellow citizens and our communities would benefit from a place for working through these most important life issues. And that when we started leaving churches, we sacrificed the one venue where this type of conversation effectively took place. But how can we bring this valuable resource to more people now? How do we tell them that our church has something to offer and that it's not what they think they know of as a church? This is a difficult proposition, especially because we look so much like the churches we evolved from. Not the building. Very few people worship in a castle. But our language and our practices, like weekly Sunday worship, look and feel like the church of old, at least until you experience them fully. I become quite frustrated at being unable to reach the people that I feel could benefit the most from our liberal religious messages. I think we need to become extraordinarily creative in the ways we put ourselves out there, how we represent our own community to the broader Beverly Morgan Park community. Getting back in the habit of holding events and hosting activities is important. Being a consistent presence in public issues is important. Talking to our friends and associates about what we do here is important. We should think about what messages we put on our electric sign and what we hope they might achieve. And we should decide what we want to become in our own minds as well. Listening to what I just said, you might feel that I am committed to growth as something that's critical for this congregation. I do think that some growth would be good, and that we definitely need to be concerned with sustaining a critical level of membership. But the extent to which we would want to grow should be an open question. It should reflect your own feelings and your own comfort and your own purposes in coming to church. What I do claim is that we should aspire to vitality in all of our programs. Some areas are difficult. Is it feasible for us to continue serving our children and youth when we have sort of lost the critical mass of participants that such programs require? What is necessary so that we can provide pastoral services to any member or friend who is having difficulty? How can we agree to speak with a common voice on the issues of our day? And how do we express these opinions in the world? How much and how actively do we wish to engage ourselves in stimulating and challenging exploration and discourse? Clearly, we will all differ in many ways as we address such questions, but we should be working to establish a church culture where we know our basic posture on such things, and a culture that will help us live into the 21st century. Beverly Unitarian has so much going for it, and I'm extremely optimistic about our future. Coming out of this pandemic time is an important and opportune moment to ask questions of ourselves and to think about what we might be, what we want to be. It is a time ripe for innovation, new ideas, and I look forward to discovering our future with you. Namaste, Ashe, Amen, and blessed be. We will now join in singing.